Welcome back, everyone. It's time for a few news updates. We're still kind of reeling from all the insane stuff like player housing, dynamic ground mounts, but it's time to get back to business because while we were all enjoying some lovely, excellent news, a few things flew under the radar, and a few of them have turned out just a little worse than we expected. But that never happens with today's sponsor. Well, I've been a paid customer of for 5 years. It's HelloFresh. Today you'll learn why, and even better, you'll get 10 free meals by going to HelloFresh.com and using code Bellular10. That's for new subscribers across 7 boxes, varying by plan. And yes, that's 10 free HelloFresh meals. Again, HelloFresh.com, using code Bellular10. And this time what I've just eaten is this speedy, smoky chorizo orzo. It was absolutely flavor town. And as a plus, it was dead quick and beyond simple to cook. And that's the big benefit. Their chef-designed meals are delicious, and each week you've got a massive range, 50 recipes to choose from, with loads of different add-on options, and they're categorized to make things simple, like say calorie smart meals or their rapid meals. And if you don't like a protein, that's completely fine. You can swap it out for another one. You see, with HelloFresh, I make one decision a week. I set it up in the app, and they just handle the rest. The food arrives at my house. So versus the alternative, they are faster, they are cheaper, they are healthier. I mean, the price of takeout food around Belfast is crazy, all while saving me hours a week and giving me variety. It is such a great simplification. Simply, their box is left at my apartment, I pop the chilled bag into my fridge, and that's it. A complete no-brainer. So, go to HelloFresh.com and you will get 10 free meals by using code Bellular10. That is for new subscribers across 7 boxes, varying by plan. So, 10 free meals. HelloFresh.com, use code Bellular10, and a big thank you to them for sponsoring the show. First, a few game details that are easy to miss. So, patch 11.07 will be dropping December 17th. That's just in time for Winter's Veil to refresh and for us to have some more WoW to play over the holidays. Part of that will, of course, be the Siren Isle, and we now know how long it will take to unlock flying there. Basically, it's going to take 6 weeks, because that's also the amount of time it takes to max out the new ring, which is called Circe Circlet. So, it'll be 6 weekly quests to upgrade it all the way to item level 639, and when we do that, we get the ability to fly. That means it'll be the 28th of January, which is just in time for 11.1, which we think is going to be in February, perhaps a little bit later on in February. Then another good change is you can turn on War Mode again, because the anniversary area has been made a sanctuary, so you can get an additional 10% XP bonus, and that's kind of it for the live game updates. Blizzard have obviously been busy with other things this week, unless you're perhaps interested in finding the Mountain Dude on the Emerald Dream server in the US to get some Mountain Dew rewards. Other than that, it's business as usual, but that's just live World of Warcraft. There have been a few other things like interviews with key Blizzard staff. So first, a few interviews with Ian, most notably with PC Gamer, where we now know there are going to be 2 new delves coming in 11.1. Both are going to be goblin themed, and Bran will be picking up a new role. He's going to be able to tank now, as well as, of course, DPS and heal. Other than that, it seems the delves are not getting any substantial changes, and outside of the launch scaling bugs, the team basically are happy with how delves have turned out and how much players are enjoying them. Now, we don't know if that means that rewards will be as strong as they've been in Season 1. There could be changes like that, but this is an interview with PC Gamer, so I've got to imagine that it's a little bit more big scale. And the other thing with that interview is it did soft confirm one thing that we've pretty much assumed now that it's been announced, and that is that we're just going to continue getting Bran, and that there will not be new delve companions with every season. Next, though, Holly spoke to the Daily Star, and there's really good news here. Blizzard have got an entire dedicated team for the player housing feature that's coming in midnight. That means this is not something the devs are working on between patches or around patches where people are swapping back and forth. This is actually just a full-time job for the people that are on its team, which I think is a very, very good thing indeed. If they're going to do this feature, they've obviously got to do it right. It seems they understand that, and this is getting a hell of a lot of development time. And finally, for player housing, I've got some absolutely insane breaking news. We actually know when this feature is going to be coming out, and it's kind of thanks to the FBI, as in the Federal Bureau of Investigations. I really don't think any of us saw that coming, but it's actually what's happened. So, take a look at the new roadmap. You can see that where we previously had what we've all just been calling the Homestone icon, we've now got a WoW icon and a house icon, making it abundantly clear that player housing will be releasing in winter of 2025. That's pretty damn impactful. It means that that will be coming out before the Midnight expansion, I would presume as some sort of pre-order bonus. Now, you're probably wondering, how did this happen? Why would Blizzard just give up the goose like that? And the FBI? Seriously? What's going on? Okay, so from what I understand, somebody over on Twitter found that the Homestone icon, let's just say it bore a unfortunate resemblance to another icon that is used by people who the internet these days would refer to as .pdf. If you kind of know what I mean. So, yeah, that was a pretty unfortunate thing. I mean, absolutely an accident, and I don't think anybody would seriously say there's anything untoward there. But because of that, it was obviously a bad look. It seems Blizzard responded to that situation really, really quickly, which is why we now know that basically, within a calendar year, we will be on the cusp of player housing in World of Warcraft as a feature that we can play, which is honestly really damn exciting. And with that, back to the rest of the episode. They also asked Holly on console, as well as poked for plans on a graphics overhaul, and basically Holly said they're constantly exploring options for console from an engineering perspective, because they would like WoW to be playable by everybody, but there's nothing to announce there. I mean, obviously, with the Microsoft deal, I think it's only a matter of time, and WoW actually does work surprisingly well on a gamepad. Anyway, as for the graphics, they basically said that, well, WoW players kind of like it how it is, so they're iterating and updating within the current style rather than any grand overhauls. And yes, it's very easy for people to say, hey, why is WoW not running on Unreal Engine 5, which is really a ridiculous thing. That would not make any sense for a game like World of Warcraft. Iteration is absolutely the way to go. Yes, it's the case that there's likely a few limitations, but we're definitely better iterating from here. The last bit of detail then is from PC Gamer, and it's for the drive feature, basically our Mario Kart within WoW. So the cars are going to be 4 to 5 times faster than the ground mounts, so Blizzard are pretty confident that even without flying, which it doesn't seem will be flying in Undermine, but even without that, they're pretty confident the players will enjoy movement. And it's also extremely Mario Kart because one of the things they're experimenting with is giving you a big speed boost, they say a huge speed boost, as a reward for holding a long drift, which is, I mean, yeah, full-on kart racing game, and I am totally here for that. And of course, they also confirm we're going to have quests that are races and all of that stuff. But if that does worry you, well, gameplay-wise, they did say that there is an NPC passenger who can help in some of those locomotion things. Surprisingly, though, and not always for the best of reasons, we do have some other topics to talk about, like Warcraft 3, maybe slightly deforged. That was a great apology the Blizzard made for Reforged, right? I mean, it took a while, but finally they fixed the game. Well, it's kind of time to ruin the mood just a little bit. Some people took a closer look at the press shots after booting the game, and they noticed that something did not line up. So take a look at these screenshots. Now look at the actual assets in-game. Those were hand-painted concepts, or at least they were quite heavily touched up. They are not remotely representative of the game that people actually shipped. And that did mean that whenever I was looking at Warcraft 3 stuff and I was really excited, yeah, I was just looking at something that's not what's actually in the game. I mean, God knows how something egregiously bad like that happened. It's kind of mind-boggling. Maybe somebody in marketing somehow used mock-up screenshots instead of real ones. But one thing does come to mind. There's a term from a while back in the games industry called bullshots, where basically it's a screenshot, but it's also bullshit and it's not representative. That is actually what happened here. And, well, looking through things, it's extremely clear the RTS team did not have the manpower to actually do what a lot of people thought. And looking at the player responses, the resounding reaction to Reforged 2.0 is that it's a step in the right direction at least, but it is still full of glaring omissions. There are some fixes, like the patch notes claiming that it works on macOS, that are just false, because it doesn't. There's also features added like UI scaling, but that aren't that well considered, like, say, having separate minimap scaling. Then even weird things like the in-game custom keybinds feature, which is great, but is completely missing an inventory key, which is just weird. Players are also reporting critical bugs that just weren't there before. Things as insane as just logging out of their accounts after they finished a campaign mission, which is rather inconvenient, and of course as simple as just random crashes. There are waves of complaints about the AI upres textures as well. Some of them have got clear errors that should, in a finished product, either be regenerated or have the noise touched up or, be touched up by an artist. There are inconsistent frame rates depending on which assets are on screen, and just lots of odd, like shippable bugs, but odd ones, and there's too many of them. And it's really becoming clear that time and resources were an issue here. One strange example is somebody in the subreddit pointing out, well, what they think is AI-generated mistakes on promo art, but actually looking at the promo art, I think it's clearly not that. It's just undercooked art that somebody signed off on. Stuff like the trolls having too many fingers, where I look at it and it doesn't actually seem to be an AI mistake or something like that. It just seems, well, you needed some more QA because trolls don't have that many fingers. So the verdict, as a whole, is that 2.0 was a great idea, right? And that it is welcome, but that it's still not finished. And if you take a look at the credits, you basically see why. There's a whole new segment of the credits that has a new 2.0 section. The RTS team there is 3 people. Yes, so if you've been wondering why any of these goofy things have happened, 3 people. The vast majority of the credits are outsourced to other studios. Of course, no shade in them specifically, but the heavy use of outsourcing things instead of hiring full-time devs has been blamed for issues across Microsoft's entire portfolio. And one example there is ZeniMax Workers United, that union, which is comprised of Bethesda QA staff, who actually just went on strike this week, partially in protest of the overuse of contractors impacting their work. So, not perfect, but I mean, come on, man, it's 3 people on the RTS team. I don't blame them whatsoever. There needs to be more people on that team. So it's frustrating that as a whole, Blizzard is just unwilling to invest the resources to do this right. I mean, even if you look at something like Age of Empires, there's a lot of outsourcing there, but it is kind of long-term partner studios that they work with. And it's absolutely of a larger sort of scale than what's going on here. Yeah, it's good, but it feels like it's ticking a box so they can move on, not something of a proper scale. So I guess here's to hoping the RTS team can get these issues sorted out, and hopefully Blizzard takes it a bit more seriously. Okay, let's move over to unannounced Blizzard game news. We've got a job listing that's got an interesting update. So we had heard that there's a StarCraft shooter in the works, but we didn't know that it was open world. Now, funnily enough, Activision Blizzard's other shooter, Call of Duty, recently experimented with some open world segments, which actually in that case worked out pretty well. So anyway, it seems that they want open world-like experience per a job listing anyway. The role that was advertised was for an associate design director of innovation, and there's a really pithy quote in it about David Bowie, doing things slightly out of your depth. What it does, though, is it asks directly for somebody who will, quote, selectively target key areas of innovation that have shown potential but have not yet permeated the AAA space. So, I don't expect this to release before 2029, but I do expect it to be unique, and if I think StarCraft, if I think shooter, and I think a degree of open world, well, you're going to be a shooting dude of some sort, right? It's StarCraft. That generally means larger battles between sides. Maybe it's some sort of dynamic battlefield. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, this is on top of other job entries for other projects which cover a much broader range of things, like combat for a mission-based game with AI companions, and a design director of systems and economy for a live service game. Who knows, maybe we'll hear more at a BlizzCon 2025, but to be honest, given that they've burned themselves with the unannounced survival game, I've got a feeling they won't announce things too soon again. And the next thing's a bit of a business update. You may have already noticed this, actually, on Battle.net, because, well, Battle.net is getting a new fully fledged AAA RPG in February. Of course, it's not a Blizzard game, it's an Activision game. It's Avowed, which is an action RPG from Obsidian. That's, of course, the team behind Pillars of Eternity, Fallout New Vegas, and The Outer Worlds. And in this case, Avowed is actually set in the world of Pillars of Eternity, which is really good. People love the Pillars world. And it also marks the first Xbox-owned game to land on Battle.net, right? One that's got nothing to do with Activision or Blizzard, and this does make complete sense. Battle.net is, I'd say, likely second only to Steam as a launcher for PC games. There's a gigantic untapped audience there, and come on, revenue splits. You'd rather keep that in-house than just give Gabe Newell a whole bunch of money so he can have another super yacht. And actually, that's not me just generically joking. Turns out Gabe's actually got a whole fleet of yachts and an ocean exploration vessel. Anyway, enough of yachts. What I would expect is that if this sells well, we're probably going to see more of Xbox's games ending up on Battle.net, and that's especially the case because Battle.net has now got a Game Pass integration. It's one that's way better than the actual Xbox app, which, is pretty much the worst thing. And it also does mean that if you want Avowed, but you don't want to pay any cash, I guess you could buy Avowed for about 1.5 million World of Warcraft gold. And in fact, this even calls back to a very early idea, one that I'm sure they're kicking themselves over. 24 years ago, Blizzard thought about letting other games on Battle.net. Like, they actually thought about that. They were close to making Steam before Steam was even a twinkle in Gabe Newell's eye. That's actually why it's called Battle.net and not Blizzard.net or something. But at least now they're actually going in that direction. But okay, that's it for today. If you want a recap on the genuinely substantial direct stuff, which is amazing for World of Warcraft, I give my rundown on all of that in this video, so check it out next.